How's it going, OFPs? And welcome to another episode of the Off-Field Players Podcast. I'm your host, Phil Paul, and I hope everybody's having an amazing weekend. It's actually a MLK Day weekend, so of course, we take time to give pay honor and respect to the man that helped, just make our world a better place, and just to allow us to be among all groups from different backgrounds and different aspects of life, and paying honor to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the pathways that he's been able to pave for us of people in minority groups, and just for everybody to think alike and just be respectful to others. Definitely taking the time to pay homage on this day where we honor him in the United States. And it's also really just a good time of remembrance as well. So definitely take some time to, be grateful for where you are today, and just allow yourself to remind yourself that there are people that are trying to inspire and help make the world a better place. And one of those people making the world a better place is a guest I have here on the Off-Field Players podcast. And she has been all over the map when it comes to New York sports. She has done everything from being an in-game host, a reporter. I mean, just a phenomenal talent all across the board, and definitely glad to have her on here. And I guess we're kind of like co-workers because we both do St. John's basketball, but it's definitely awesome to get her on the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome Denise Gonzalez to the Off-Field Players podcast. How are you, Denise?
Hello. When you said that, I was like, "Who's that? Me? Me? Little me? Hi guys, how are you?"
Well,
I should have done like an entrance, like a dramatic entrance, but next time.
next time. Well, like as Denise mentioned to me before we started the interview, that she is a goofball. So she's gonna be a little bit funny, probably throw some jokes here and there. But Denise, it's definitely awesome to have you on here on the Off Field Players podcast, especially with you being an OFP yourself and what you've been able to do. And correct me wrong, I don't know if you have a nickname or not, but I feel like people should be calling you Miss New York Sports or the New York Sports Queen or something, because like from your resume and everything that you've done from top to bottom and all the teams that you worked with, it seems like you've just been all over the city.
It's funny when you put it like that. I never noticed anything that I accomplished to like way after, and I'm just like, oh snap, I did that. I did that. And it's like people say congratulations, and I'm like, for what? And they're like, and then they think they're like, really? And I'm like, listen, I have so much fun out there that I don't realize it. Like all the like stepping stones that I accomplished or so on, I don't notice it till like after. And sometimes people remind me, and I'm just like, dude, I'm having so much fun, and I'm so in the moment that, you know, I guess
Well,
I'm
hey,
blessed.
and that's definitely a great thing, because you accomplish so much, and yeah, at times you do forget, like, oh man, like I've done so much, but I didn't realize it. It's it's almost like you feel that it just becomes normal. It just becomes a part of your life, and I feel like when it gets to that point, then it's you feel like you're on like the right track and you're consistent with it. But yeah, but I do feel that your story and just like your career, from what I've been able to research about you, has definitely shown that you have like the mentality of an OFP. And for those that are new to the podcast, an OFP is someone that is knowledgeable about the business side of sports and that is active within it, and also just having that mentality of an athlete. And I just want to learn a little bit more about your backstory, about where you come from, like where you went to school, like what was your upbringing like in sports. So you just tell the listeners a little bit more about that.
So I went to school here in Queens. I actually went to John Brown, and then I transferred to Long Island City. So I did like half a year in Brown, and then I went to Long Island City. Um, for college, I went to Lehman College, but I couldn't afford to stay in school
Oh wow.
in college. Yeah. So there was like a part in my life where I had to either pick like, oh, like should I leave? I didn't want my mom to deal with the bills and stuff like
Mm.
that and come back. Like there was a point where I left school and I had to come back.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And within that time period, I remember working this party for HDTV, the
Oh yeah, the Home
home,
Improvement channel.
channel.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
gotcha.
home improvement channel. And I met, And I'm gonna a name drop Archie, Jermaine, and Marcus. And they're so these three men are still in my life, and they play a huge like role in it. Archie was the host of the
All
76ers
right.
at the time. So he worked in Philly, and then Jermaine, he was the manager for the Perp Patrol for
Hmm.
City Field. And then Marcus, he's the one that hired all the brand ambassadors to work with like the channel and things like that. And me just being myself and talking to them, Archie goes, "You have your personality, like you need to come work at the Garden." And I'm like, "I've never been to the Garden." I'm the only like woman in sports in my family. No woman here
Hmm.
has ever played a sport or done what I've done. So it's like my parents never took me to a game or
Hmm.
anything like that. If anything, yeah, it was always me. Like old school Dominican parents, like they just want you to go to school and then pick a career
Hmm.
that's, traditional. But and I'm like, how do I get in? And they're like, oh, auditions, you have to audition. And I'm like, okay, like how do I stay in contact with these men? And then, the whole summer I kept telling one of my friends, like, hit them up, write to them, like, I want to do it, I want to do it. They finally hit me up like in August. Oh, there's an audition for the Knicks, the Westchester Knicks, the New York Rangers, and stuff like that. Come. I have never auditioned for anything in my day, like ever at all. So I was so nervous that I even left my resume. I had to go across the street, print it at a random spot. I had to
Hmm.
improvise. I went to the audition. I literally poured my heart and my soul. Like I was crying
You were
during the
crying
auditions.
during the
Like
auditions.
yes,
Gosh.
you they get you, man. They get you. They give you the auditions for like the Knicks and the Rangers. The way that it works is that you start off
Hmm.
with like numbers, like big numbers. You get a number when you walk in, you sign in, etc., etc. And then they make you do a lot of like scenes where you improvise, and they really test you to see if you have personality to be on camera, to talk to millions and thousands of people and things like that. And the first round they gave away wristbands, and I'm like, I didn't get a wristband. I didn't get one. That's it. I'm done. Then they're like, oh, if you got a wristband, I'm sorry, it's not gonna work out. And I was like, oh my god,
Oh.
oh Lord, this is it. I was like, thank God I made it to the last round. And then they gave you 40 seconds to like show off a talent that you have that you didn't really get to. And I'm like, shoot, what can I dance besides like Spanish music? I can't sing. So I just went up there and I told my story and the reason why I went to auditions. I used to work with cars before I got into sports. I think
Oh.
I've done every job. Like I even worked in Chuck E. Cheese. I've done it
I'm curious.
all. My first job was like washing hair in a salon. Like I've
what
done it
was
all.
your experience with cars? I love cars, so I'm interested in that. Like,
Yeah.
what were you doing? Were you like a mechanic? Were you a detailer?
Well, I started off as a receptionist. Within the first year, I got moved up to a product specialist, and that's like you working with the DMV, putting the plates, and then showing the customers the features of the cars. It's like really knowing about the cars. And then after that, I got moved up to service advisor, which is like if something's wrong with your car, you come talk to me. I give the mechanic the RO, which
Mm.
is like the paper, and then they fix it and they come to me and stuff like that. So that's what I did for a long time, but I wasn't happy. I was making a lot of money, but I was young. No one ever taught me how to save money, or I didn't really have
Hmm.
guidance. So I was young, I wasn't happy because I'm like, I'm working 9 to 9.
Oh.
On Mondays, I'm like 22 years old,
Hmm.
21. And I remember I had a 14-year-old cousin who was dying
Oh.
from cancer. And I've never had anybody like pass away that was very close to me. And I'm very close to all my cousins, basically my entire family. I've always
Hmm.
been close to them. And so I saw how brave he was. Like he was hanging on to like his dear life. Like he was like skinny. He wasn't eating. He wasn't drinking anything. And I remember the last weekend before he passed, like the Warriors were playing the Lakers, and I was, going over the game with him and telling him, and then I was just like, it's okay to let go. Like you made me brave. I'm gonna follow my dreams because of you. Because,
Yeah.
he was like an inspiration to me. And then that same week,
Hmm.
he passed away. And from there on, I never looked back. I quit my job in the dealership. I went back to college. I played softball there. I barely played softball there because I was just so far behind that I had a concussion. It was
Hmm.
just like a mess. I didn't know what I was gonna do. And then I went to that specific event to work, the HTV party. And that's what everything like started clicking in. So it's really being in the right place at the right time and knowing the right people.
So, I just want to go back to like your cousin passed away from cancer, and you watching the Warriors and the Lakers game with him.
Yeah.
And was that like the inspiration for you to kind of, go into like the hosting industry as in regards to because I assume like was your cousin like a big basketball fan or was he a sports fan? Like,
Yes, all my cousins, all of them, and they're younger than me. Actually, even the older ones too. They're all boys. I would be the only girl cousin that would be there watching sports with them, football, basketball, baseball. But he was a huge Yankees fan, a huge Steph Curry and LeBron James fan. So I knew that I wanted to do something with sports because I played sports. And I'm a big believer in doing anything that makes you happy, no matter like what. Because my thing is like, if I go to your job and you're miserable and you take it out on me, how is that my fault? Like go do whatever you want to do. That's how I see it. But he was an inspiration, yeah, big time. I didn't know that I wanted to do hosting. I I had no clue. I just knew that I wanted to work in sports. I didn't know how I was gonna get there. I didn't have no guidance at all. I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna go with my gut. I'm just gonna stay the course. Talk to the right people, just be myself. And literally, me being myself is how it happened.
so
So yeah.
like when you got your first job working in sports, who was that person that gave you your big break, or what steps did you have to take when you first just when you were first introduced to the industry?
What's crazy? I think I was like maybe 18 years old. And I thought about this like months ago when everything started happening, when I started meeting all these people. I got my first job in sports here working at the US Open.
Oh, tennis. Yep.
So that kind of helped too. And I was guest services. And I met the guest services supervisor and the big supervisor. And again, just me being myself and talking because I talk a lot.
You have to. It's your job.
um, yeah,
So,
yeah. They put me in the presidential suite, which was like big time because I was new. I had never worked in sports, and they just put me in front of the presidential suite. So I was able to meet Billie Jean, Mike Tyson. I There was a point where I literally I had to walk Mike Tyson over. Not that he needed me. Come on, because he walked out without security, and I'm like, Mike, where's your security guard? He's like, oh no, baby, I don't need one. And I was like, yeah, but I can't just let you walk out the presidential suite, you know? So it was like little moments like that. And I didn't do anything. But at the time, I was networking the heck out of my shifts. I don't even think I sat still. I was like, I'm going to go to the bathroom. No. I'll go talk to the camera guy. Hey, who do you work for? ESPN. Oh, interesting. So I'm interested in doing, reporting, media production. He's like, oh yeah, get, my business cards. You know, I didn't get to speak to Billie Jean long. I would just be like, oh, how was your day? Things like that. I got to see Serena Williams live. Like I have Polaroids when she played years ago, and it's yeah, that was my first job. But the person that didn't really get me anywhere, to be honest. That just gave me the experience to meet all these women in sports. That I met Billie Jean. I was hype, and Serena,
I
and
mean, the
Serena's
goat.
aunt.
Yeah, Serena's the goat. So yeah.
She's goated. Like I love Serena Williams. And I think the person that gave me my break, what was my first job in hosting? I couldn't even tell you, but a lot of people had a major factor in that. There's Danny. He didn't even know me like that. He was just following me on Instagram. He kept looking at my personality like through like, my stories and stuff like that. And there's this at the time there was this company called Double G Sports, and they are like a independent company where they hire you and they just give you the credentials to go cover like whatever event. So I got to cover Yankee Stadium, Winter Wonderland. There's him. There's Ray, who I worked with at Seventh Ave. That at the time I didn't know if I wanted to continue to be a host because there was no hosting jobs. Like sports is big, but it's a very
Right.
small community. Everybody had a team, and I'm like, I had a random thought. It was just insane. I was like, you know what? Like I live right by St. John's. At the time I knew Chuck was there, and I'm like, I wonder if like he's still doing St. John's. Like I should do St. John's. It was just like a thought, a moment. I was literally about to give up. I didn't
Yeah,
do anything with that.
what
Then a
that's
month
good. But like,
after,
what year was this when this started like come together?
like when I was
Yeah,
about to
like
give
yeah,
up,
what year?
or
Like,
like when about
mm,
2 years ago.
wow,
Yeah, about 2 years. I think was it in the middle of
it might
COVID?
be, like
I
I mean,
think it
COVID feels
was
so long ago.
in
It's
the middle.
like, but it might have been.
Yeah, it was just it was so
Yeah.
long ago. It's so weird. But and then Matt Mendez, who used to work at St. John's, he reached out to me and he's like, "Hey, St. John's is looking for another host," and I'm like, I was just thinking about. I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. I've never done an arena before, and I just threw myself right in. I was like, listen, when the opportunity comes, it doesn't matter. Like I just throw myself in. And that's what I did. I was just like, yeah, and then I became the host for St. John's. And then I wasn't doing every game. Like Chuck, he had the important games, and I understood that because I had to make my way up. So they all kind of helped me. It was Ray, Danny, Keys. He works at City Field. These are all men who do like pictures. They throw pictures. Ray, he does like EDM. But these are people that know me and know me personally. Like they helped me. Archie. Who else? The the women at my job at the garden. The, my boss, Christina. She's not a director. She would put me on all the important events for the
Wow.
New York Knicks. And from there, I would network. Like, she knew me personally. Like, my first year as a rookie, I was the only rookie at all the, like, private events for the New York Knicks. And at the Garden, you kind of have to make
Mm.
your way up. But she had a part in it, too. And I'm pretty sure there's more people to it that I can't think of right now. But I'm guessing those are the main ones because their names came to hit, like, to mind like
Well,
that.
you mentioned a lot of names, and just out of all the organizations you've been with, because you mentioned you've met people like when you're at the U.S. Open, when like you were working at the Garden with the Knicks, and I even saw recently because I follow you and I saw you did some work with the Rangers like last year, and you even like posted a few pictures from a while back with you doing some work with the Mets and the Yankees. As far as like all the people you've like associate yourself with, that you network with and connected with, who was like the main person to kind of help you, you know, like kind of like estimate what your trajectory is now, or like what it was like back when you were coming up to to get you where you are right now.
I would say myself. And before I didn't have that answer. Like I would ask myself, like, who like really I would say myself. Like I had a group of people that, were my friends and they would push me to do it and would encourage me. But at the end of the day, it was up to me to never lose like that mentality that I had where I just had to keep going and keep going. I take every job. I could be sick in bed and I would get my ass up and I would go to work. Like I just had to. I knew that no matter what I did, I would just jump on it, jump on it. If there was an event in the garden, I'm there. If you ask my mother, I missed a bunch of
Mm.
birthday parties, a bunch of family events because I know that the moment that you don't show up, someone else is gonna take your spot, and that's just how it is. It's very competitive, and in this business, you have to kind of. It's sad to say, you kind of have to be a shark, and you have to have like thick skin, because you see how I was just about to give up 2 or 3 years ago, and now look, everything to this moment, everything is still coming into place. I don't know what is gonna happen, but I know that if I stay consistent and I stay true to myself, then everything is just gonna come. It's gonna flow. But it was really up to me to have that mentality to be like, okay, like I'm not making a lot of money like I used to. Um, I'm not where I want to be at. I'm at this certain age, and it's just like, and I just kept pushing and reading, and it took a lot for me to like come out of that mental space. I had to like read. There was times where I had to like force myself to go work out. Like, how can I help my mentality get better? It was a lot. I had to pull myself out of that mindset. It
So,
took a
so
while.
it really sounds like that it was just based off of self motivation that really helped you, just get those jobs
Yeah.
out. And I think this is like valuable for the OFPs that are listening, the aspiring off field players. And I think for some of them, they just like, oh well, the sports industry is like you just put your resume out there and you hope to get a response back from company, and it's not like that. It's I don't think it's ever been like that. And
Yeah. I used to have that
well, I
mentality.
mean, I think, yeah,
It's not like
and of course, with being like a sport management major, I've come to understand that because something that's like our professor beats into us is it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. And and Denise, I feel
that.
like you're the epitome about like trying to be with people that you can know, to be able to find those positions that are open and to be able to you know separate yourself from the others, and just being like like displaying your personality. Like you've mentioned that your personality has helped you get into certain roles because people have took notice of it, and you were able to make that introduction for yourself. And I think that's where the self motivation that you speak about comes from.
Yeah, and after like I noticed that I was like being true to myself and I was being authentic. Like St. John's, they know how I am. The Garden knew how I was. That I have a big mouth, and they know that if I have a problem with something, I'm going to say it. So I was like, okay, then I'm where I'm supposed to be, because if they know me and they know how I am, and I keep getting opportunities just for being myself, that's how I know that what I'm doing is right. That's how I know that I put myself on the right path. And I know that, long term, I will get to where I want to
Well,
be.
well, before we go further, like where is that long term? Like where do you see yourself in like the next 5, 10 years per se? Like what's the long term vision?
I get asked that question a lot. And the only thing that I can come up with that feels right is that my goal is to like free my entire family from their financial, issues, if they do have that
Mm-hmm.
I'm not aware of. That's just my goal. To continue being happy, to continue doing what I love, but to also be that person in my family where they can all come to it and be like, you'll be fine. And the one thing about me is that I remember everyone. I remember everyone to the point where I remember those that would tell my mother that I wouldn't be anything because I was hanging out with the wrong people in the wrong crowd. But here's the thing about me, I was never a follower. I was never a follower. I could be with you, you could be this person, but that don't mean I gotta do the same thing that you're doing. I know where I'm going. And I don't judge anybody. I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. So I remember everyone who, since day one, even when I was like in middle school and elementary school, I had a teacher, Miss Kana, who would tell me, "You're gonna be on TV. You gotta be like Chris Brown's backup dancer." Because I was obsessed with Chris Brown. I was obsessed
Okay.
with Chris Brown.
Okay.
And like I remember everyone who played a part. Like, I just had another cousin who passed away recently. And when I was younger, she will hand me the mic. She'll throw the best parties. And she'll hand me the mic and be like, "That's right, girl, you go, girl." And it's little things like that, if I'm up, everyone that helped me to be where I'm at, they're up with me. And that's just a mentality that I have,
Mm.
you know? So I don't say anything, but I'm aware of everything and everyone around me. So that's my goal, to like be in the position where I can help those that helped me, especially mentally, get to where they want to
Mm.
be.
Yeah,
You know,
and that's a beautiful thing for sure. And you know, and you possess that in a lot of ways. And I think with being on the mic and also just the difficulty, like the barrier of entry for the industry, it's that's needed. Like you, like thick skin, being able to notice certain things. I mean, yeah, it's definitely heavy for you. And Denise, I just kind of want to go more into how you prepare to become an in-game host, because I'm at the basketball games. I'm broadcasting them on the radio, WSJU, and I see you. So you're middle of the court all the time. So it's not like I don't notice you. But I like what's a day in the life like for you to help prepare? Like say like no, like once you leave your house and you're getting in the car and going to Carneseca or MSG, just to get your mind right for a game. Like what's like give me like the 9 to 5, like the day in the life from breakfast to dinner, like like layout or schedule.
I before I used to be a believer of having like a routine. A lot of like in-game hosts on camera people that I know, they have a routine where they have to wake up, read, do yoga. No, I'm asleep for sure. I don't go out the day before. It doesn't matter what. Like if I have to wake up early, I don't. Unless it was like my birthday week, I did that, and now I regret it. But because it took me off my routine. But usually, if I have a game, what I do is that I wake up, I relax, I try not to think about it because believe it or not, people ask me, "Do you get nervous?" And when I say yes, they don't believe me because they're like, "You can't tell." I don't get nervous in St. John's anymore. But I think that when I go to the garden, I get more nervous because I have a relationship with everyone in that building, including the people like the custodians and everyone you see like in the bathrooms, in the hallways, at the stands. So it's like it feels special for them to see me because those people, especially like the security guards at the garden, they've always believed in me and they've always, had my back for everything. So I think I get nervous because those are my people. But I kind of second what I usually do is that when I get there, I love to talk to the interns and kind of like pick their brain. And like, I don't want them to think that, what's the word? I feel like a lot of them think that because I'm the host that I need to act a certain way. No, I like to talk to them to show them that I did what you did at the garden. If you need my help, I got you. And I will tell them every game, you need help, let me know. Just because you see me in heels or on camera or on a mic doesn't mean that I can't step to the side and help you. So I like to talk to them to show them like, honey, I did the same thing that you did. I'm still doing it with other teams. But then I usually go over my script. I have a thing with my script where I know the script, but for some reason I just love doing this. Where I go over my script, I fold the edges of my papers. I don't know why. I think that's
Yeah,
my
it's
routine.
like what people do with like checkbooks and just like files and things.
Yeah. I walk in, I talk to the interns a little bit. I always say, good morning or good afternoon, beautiful people of St. John's. Like to try to get people like,
Yeah.
stop being so serious. Then I make my way down to the court. I usually talk to the players like in Spanish, bother them a little bit. And then I just stay in my bubble. The other game I had to listen to Bad Bunny because sometimes my mood when I get there, I'm out of it. So I put in one of my headphones, listen to Bad Bunny, and the rest is history from there. I just go with the flow.
Okay. All right. Well, as speaking Spanish to the players. I know Joel Soriano. I'm dropping some names like the stars right now in St. John's. So Joel Soriano, David Jones, Andre Corbello. All being either from the Dominican or Puerto Rican background, and I just think I want to go more into like just the side of you. Like not only are you a woman working in sports, but you're also like a Latina woman working in sports. And I just think like what has it been like for you to like just come up in this environment where it's been like a male dominated sport and even not seeing like a lot of minorities like in the sports industry.
Let me tell you something that I've noticed that, going back to what I said, that you have to be a shark because there have been opportunities where I did not get a job, which is okay because, hey, like, I'm not here to take over New York City, but then you have to have that mentality where you kind of do have to take over. And I didn't get a specific job because my voice was not deep enough. And I still worked the event, and there was people coming up to me saying, "Why is that person on the mic? Why are you not on the mic?" And I'm just like, one, that's rude. Two, it's okay. Like everybody needs to eat. And it's been hard it's been hard for the past like 6 years because I know that I have been the underdog, you know, and a lot of people that are friends that you call friends in the industry, they would rather put someone who has a blue check already that hasn't done with you what you have done, but because they have a certain amount of followers, even though they don't have an experience or done what you've done, but they have a blue check, they'll put them on, except you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like that. That also includes having thick skin because the people that you call your friends, they're not really your friends. They're actually like associates that you meet. You know, and I think I was soft in the beginning where I expected just because I was friends with certain people that they would put me on. It's not like that. It's not like that. I mean, it could be. I have people that I'm close to, like I said, like I mentioned them before, that when they hear of an opportunity, they mention me. I have people that I thought were friends that, would put people that are not qualified. And, I'm no one to say who's qualified and who's not, but I put the work. There was about, I think half of the years I've had in this business, I
Mm,
worked for free. There's big events that I've done for free,
mm,
you know? And again, that has nothing to do with anybody. That's just me. Is what I chose to do because I know that it'll be worth it. As long as I have it on my resume, you got to take a L. I've taken a lot of L's. I know that I've always been the underdog. And when that whole like thing on Twitter, like I went viral, I became the first Dominican woman to host, college
mm.
basketball at the Garden, the first woman to host for the Islanders School Assembly, and now the first woman to host the women's basketball at UBS. When that started happening and they started seeing that now, oh, like, yeah, you're going up, I'll be like, oh, thank you. Yeah, sure. Whatever you need from me, I'll do. I'll still keep it professional, but I know that I'm the underdog. I know it. And I'm okay with that because everything is falling into place. And at least me being the underdog is still me being myself. But it's not easy being a Latina in sports at all, especially when you have men that could be older than you and do petty things. And you're just like, dude,
Right.
like, and it's a
Yeah,
lot.
and I like that because and this is just kind of like me going about it personally. Like when I first came to New York and first started going to St. John's and understanding what the sports were like, because for people that don't know, like I grew up in Oakland, California, and and like our sports culture here in like the Bay Area is kind of like well, I don't want to say that we coddle our teams too much because like we're really patient when it comes to like success, winning, and trying to be at the top. Especially with teams like the Warriors, like the A's. But when I went to New York and saw how different the sports culture is like there, and from what I was accustomed to, like living my whole life in Oakland, and I just see like just how the standards can be like extremely high for all the New York sports teams. It's like they expect you to win, and they it's just if you don't, it's like you're almost failing the entire city. And in all honesty, like I like that mentality, and it's an underdog mentality in a lot of in a lot of ways. And just you coming up in that like in that environment where like the New York teams was like, we love you and you hate you, like if you win or lose, and I think it really helps kind of like mold that mentality that a lot of people, you know, need in the sports industry. Like they need to, yeah,
You got to be
you
tough.
have to be tough because you never know who could double cross you or you never know who could stab you in the back, and it's just, uh,
I have had that a lot. I've had that a lot. And the thing about me, like, if you're my friend, I
mm,
consider you my family, you know? And the thing is, like, my career is based off my image. So one little lie could mess everything up, But that's why, like, I appreciate people that I work for that know me, that know better.
mm,
You know what I mean? They know that I'm too honest for the, for whatever someone would make up. But I've had that. I've had friends that will cross me just to get, you know, to where they want to be. And that's okay. I forgive them. That has nothing to do with my persona because I feel like if you're my friend, I consider you family. I'm never gonna sit here and judge you for it because that comes back to my
yeah,
character,
you maintain your
And that's
integrity.
just I would rather you think what you want because
Mm,
that's your problem, and that's the way. And I tell this to people all the time. Cry. You want to cry? You're upset. Cry. Do it over there though. Don't let them see you. But you're gonna come back there. Nothing happened. Stay on your course because when you're doing good and you're going places and you're accomplishing things that you didn't think you were going to do, that's when the devil
mm,
tests you the most. That's when you're going to get triggered. That's when people are going to say whatever they want. That's when things are going to happen. They're going to go left. That's where you have to have a tough mentality. That's when you got to be right here. Like, okay, I knew this was going to happen. I don't care. I still got to stay on course. So that's where that mentality needs to come into effect and where it matters. When things start going left, and trust me, in sports they always go left. It never.
yeah. Yeah, it's for
Yeah.
sure, for sure. And I actually want to touch a little bit more on the new role that you just got with the New York Islanders as the host of school assemblies. So I see like you're traveling to a lot of different schools around like the Long Island, Queens area, and you're talking with like young kids. I assume like elementary school, middle school aged kids. And what is something that you've learned or put into these kids that you come across like when you go to the events that the Islanders put on?
I love working with the Islanders in the school assemblies because, like, even my boss at the Garden, Christine, like, before like we separated like our ways, the Garden and I, she called me on the phone and they were like, oh, this year we really want you back. You're so good at picking contestants and you're so good with kids, and that's such a big factor. And I love working with kids. I do. And so when I go to these schools, I think that it's the funniest things ever because these kids, let me tell you, they will humble you.
Mm.
They will humble you. Kids
Mm.
do not
Yep.
lie. The younger, because they don't know any better. So when I go to a school, I could be half asleep, and I always start off with "Good morning, everyone," and they be like, "Good morning." I'd be like, "Whoa!" I said, "Good morning, everyone," and then they'd be like, "Good morning," and it's just like I like to relate to them. Like I know I have a script, but I just, I change the way I talk. The words that I use, I do it to be more relatable to them. But um, I just love being able to go there and educate them. So the whole point of those assemblies is to go and teach them about healthy lifestyles
Mm.
and teamwork. And I just recently got to do one this week, and it was the greatest thing. I had like little girls, even the little boys, like come up to
Mm.
me and hug me. And then there was one moment where it really impacted me, and I don't think I was prepared for that moment. But I had to make the best of it. Where I had a group of kids that were older, because these assemblies, I think they should be for younger kids, but sometimes we do like fifth
Mm.
graders or sixth graders. And I have Sparky with me, but this kid was like, "Where are you from?" I said, "I'm Dominican, but I live here in New York. I was born here. My family's Dominican." And the kid, I think he was like Mexican. Yes, he was Mexican because I asked. He was like, to his other classmate who was white, and he was like, "You see?" And he said it was a white people's
Mm.
sport. That right there,
Yeah, he's referring to
that
hockey.
was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes. Hockey is a very
Yeah.
expensive sport to play. It's not very common. It's not. Everything
Mm.
about hockey is expensive. And I've learned that, working in hockey for 5 years. And I was just like, that's not true. Doesn't matter what sport you play, it doesn't have to belong to a certain race. You can play whatever
Mm.
sport that you want. And I wasn't prepared for that moment. I'm like, look at me. I'm the first Dominican to come here to your school for the New York Islanders. And I kept like telling him about things that I have accomplished that I didn't know that I did. That's when I started noticing, like, oh snap, I did that, you know. But it's little moments like that I'm grateful for because it's just like the way that certain kids like we're raised, like Hispanic households. He's right. Some of us grow up watching baseball. Dominicans, we love baseball. Some people
Mm.
watch football, and not football like the football they call it, like
Oh yeah.
soccer
Oh
that they
yeah.
call.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a whole
Mm.
thing now, but whatever. Like Colombians, Mexicans, or whatever call it football, and it's just like the kid was he was kind of right, and that kind of hurt me. So being able to be in like those assemblies and to show them that this sport does not belong to this race, like it's pretty big. So I love doing the assemblies. I just love going there and making noise, but I'm very
You
grateful
know,
for it.
I want to touch a little bit more on that experience you had with the kid at the school assembly because it made me kind of go back to when because coming up I was like a sports, well, I wouldn't call myself like a sports junkie, but like it was like a huge aspect of my life. I mean, I'll tell you this, like whenever I come home, like for winter breaks from school and stuff, like my uncle, like he always has sports on TV in the house. He's either watching football, basketball, baseball, whatever. And growing up, I played baseball. Like baseball was my sport, and I ran track for a few years, and dabbled a little bit in a few other sports. A little bit of basketball, a little bit of like flag football, but I was a baseball guy. Like that's what people knew me, and actually what a lot of people didn't know about me, and I think looking back at it now, is actually kind of quiet about it. was I was actually really huge into NASCAR, like motorsports. Like I love car racing. I mean,
Yeah.
just a little side note about where the name Philip comes from. The meaning of the name is the love of horses. And if you're into, well, Denise, since you worked
Wow.
in cars, you know about like horsepower. That's what like is how many how fast or the input of the speed of a car can go. And like growing up, like being from Oakland, California, even though baseball was my sport, NASCAR was like also my sport. It was my first love. And but what was different is that when you're black, you don't see a lot of representation in motorsports at all. And I was actually I actually got made fun of in school for that. I thought like, oh, like why do you watch a white sport?
Yeah.
Why do you, like why are you into that? And like, because I like it. Like I like it doesn't matter like if I'm like if I'm black, like Latino or whatever. Like if I like something I like, I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah.
And I think with the kids that are coming up, especially with how the world is now, and that we're living in like this very crucial time in history, I feel like it is important to have those those conversations to be like, hey, just because
Yeah.
you come from this background, it shouldn't mean that you should just be like like watch this particular sport,
Yeah.
or you shouldn't watch this particular sport. Like everybody should have a choice of wherever they want to do and wherever they're interested in. If like that
Yeah.
Mexican kid wanted to be a hockey player or wanted to watch hockey because he liked it, then why not? Like let him watch it.
And that all depends too. Like, as a parent, I'm not a mom yet. Like I, it's important to like teach our children that, how do I put it? Because like I said, Hispanic household, we're very traditional. And some of our parents were raised a certain way. Like my mom was raised in a very
Mm.
strict household. Like her dad did not play. So, she tried to she tried. But I was not easy
Mm.
growing up. She could tell you. I I had a problem with
Mm.
authority. I did. I didn't care what anyone told me. If that's what I wanted to do, I'm gonna do it. In a sense where I want my child to have that same mentality where it doesn't matter if you're black, white, Spanish, Asian, or whatever the sense may be. If that's what you want to do, you're gonna do it. Doesn't matter if I say maybe you should. No, if your heart and your soul are in it, then sure. My child wants to play hockey, do it. Tennis, shoot, we live right here by the U.S. Open.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And it's just like it's important to teach like children not to have a closed off mindset that anything that they put their mind they could do. You know what I mean? And I think that that's why like I try to talk to like my goddaughters, my little cousin is like, if that's what you want to do it. I had a cousin, Chris, where he played basketball. And he got recruited by like top
Mm.
schools and stuff like that. And it's just like it's important to teach them what you taught yourself growing up. And I feel like even if I don't get where I want to be and I have kids, I'm gonna help them get where they want to be because I feel like I already have the recipe. I know what's best to come. I know what's the hiccups that are in the road, the people, the connections and stuff like that. But it's important to teach children not to limit themselves because they think that they can't do it, and that takes time. Like being a parent is no joke. Is no joke. It's no joke. It takes a
Mm.
lot, a
Yeah,
lot. But
and I
yeah,
think also when you instill in like a young kid like the hard work and dedication and just like the and it probably sound like a broken record when we talk about this, but we talk about having thick skin. We've been mentioned a couple times already, but you know,
yeah. I think it's harder for a kid to have thick skin at a young age because they don't know any
mm,
better. And think about it. When I was young, did I listen to anybody? No. Think I listened to my parents? No, I didn't. And like when you're a kid, you think that you
mm,
know better. You think you know better until situations happen and you go home running to mommy and daddy. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's why I said like being a parent is not easy because you're gonna have a child. Like for example, me, if I have a mini me, then snap, pray for me, because I wanted to do everything. Like there was one time where I wanted to do dance, and I would sneak off, and my mom was like, "I'm just gonna have to fold," and she would let me go, dance. I performed in the Puerto Rican
oh
Day
wow,
Parade before. Yeah, I went to Staten Island. Like I was a part of a dance team, and my mom, like, there was one time I wanted to join like the chorus in middle school. I did it. Like she didn't want to wake up at 6 in the morning to walk me over in 0-degree weather, but she did.
Mm,
You know what I mean? And that's just how I was. So like I don't care if I was black or Spanish, Asian, whatever I wanted to do, I did. Softball, I couldn't throw a ball, but I had a whole team help me learn how to
mm,
throw a ball. And I still didn't know how to throw a ball, but I did it. So yeah, being a kid, I think having that mentality is a little tougher because you feel like certain kids, they feel like they know better and
mm.
they really don't. So
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
hopefully, when the kids get to the college age and, like, 10 years now, when the podcast gets huge, they can come back and, here
Yeah, we're
they
gonna
can
play
play
this.
play this episode with Denise.
We're gonna play our kids this
Yeah,
episode here.
because yeah, it's definitely important for them to learn. I'm not and it varies. It varies by age when you start to develop that mentality, but
Yeah.
you'll learn, like, at some point, or they'll learn at some point. And
Yeah.
as far as going back a little bit more on how to bring it, like, what advice would you give to the aspiring OFPs on how to break into the industry, or like just how to, like, make that first introduction, put your foot in the door, like, just from, like, your experience alone, like, what would if you were talking to someone that says, like, that's trying to go to college to study sport management, or just trying to find their first job, what would you say to them?
Um, Stay the course in school, do your job. In a sense where like study hard, but build connections. Not everything is you're okay. It's a pro and con to this because a lot of people may have gotten their career off of like college and stuff like that, but maybe people that went to top
Mm,
colleges though. You know what I mean? A lot of people who didn't go to college are in higher positions than I am because of who they know and what they did on the
mm,
side. You have a lot of athletes that become, sportscasters and stuff like that, but they were like, Big Papi, Pedro Martinez, but they were up there, they know what they're talking about. But my advice is to, if you want something, go get it. It's not going to come to you. Maybe, yes, it might come to you in certain situations, but you still got to work for it. And don't be afraid to start all over again. You know how many times I think I still do it too, where I've had like big jobs and then I had to come back down, become an intern to another like independent like company, do the same thing I did for other like teams, just do it again and again and again. But I stood the course. I put my time in. I'm telling you, I think I've done every job. I worked in a salon. I worked in Chuck E. Cheese. I worked with cars. I worked in gyms. The only thing I think I haven't done is work
mm,
at restaurants,
mm,
like in the food business. But I've done it all. When you want something, you have to go get it. It's not going to come to you. Do not be like ashamed to do those little jobs, is what I'm trying to say. Because that's what builds your character. Me being able to work for my mom and make $40 a day, that's all
mm.
I was making. $40 a day, sweeping the floor, hair off the floor, washing hair for $40. I was like maybe 15 years old at the time, maybe 16. But I had no shame in my game at all. People see me take the bus. Why do you take the bus? Why not? It's 275. I don't care how much money.
Yeah,
Shoot, like, and stay humble. Be yourself. Stay humble. Stay the course, and have that mentality when things get tough. That it's not gonna get easier from there. The more things you accomplish, the harder it's going to get to you, because that's when you start pulling attention. That's when you start pulling people from all
mm,
sides. Just be true to yourself. Stay the course, be consistent, and it's who you know. Go out there, meet people. Even when you don't want to do something, get out of bed, go do it. You never know. I think there was one time where I had this event in the summer. It was like 100 degrees. It was insanely hot that day specifically. The humidity was
mm.
insane. I still made my way to the court, and I met half of New Rochelle. It was like a Jada Kiss, Nicki Minaj, like team, like Washington, like Dykeman. It was crazy, but I went. I stood the course. I did my part, and you just gotta do it all to get where you want to be.
And I like how
You
you
know?
brought up that no job, like, no small job is like, as is like bigger than the next job. I think, yeah, that's
Yeah,
a very like important because you think about and this is why I have respect for people that work in like arenas, work concerts. It's because I've been there, and actually I did leave out one important thing about me, Denise, is that not only have I done broadcasts, but you may have also seen me wearing the yellow shirt, like doing like event staff.
No,
Yeah, so
yeah,
yeah, I was
yeah.
doing I did that a lot last year because I saw those like on like an on-campus job that I needed to help just have some extra money in my pocket, and I
Yeah.
even still worked a few games this year as well, and I think from doing that, it did make me realize, oh man, like no job is as big as
No job
no
is so
job is too small,
small.
no job is too big, and like there's definitely that middle ground. You think about people that work in that sell food at the concession stands at Yankee Stadium, or the people that are like cleaning up the garbage after the games. I mean,
Those are the best people. Those are the
yeah.
people that I get along with. I can name at the garden. I can name them all. There's at least more than 100 security guards at the garden. I know all of their names, and I still have contact with them. Like they're the best. But I'm gonna. It's real funny. I have a story for you, real quick. Speaking about those little jobs, when I worked in Chuck E. Cheese, this is before I got to the car business. I had a month in Chuck E. Cheese, and I needed a job. I think at the time I didn't even have a phone. I was going through it. I was young. My parents. We don't have a lot of money. We don't. We make the best of what we got. And my mom's like that. My mom is a hustler. You will give her this, she'll sell it. You give her this pen, she'll sell it. She knows. She knows a lot of people. And she was a hustler, and that also helped. Seeing my mom when they separated from my dad, is that she didn't have a choice. Like she had to like do everything herself. And at the time, I think I was doing jobs, but I wasn't telling anybody what I was doing. That's why my family didn't really know what I was doing till that last year, because I think that in their head, maybe they thought that I was just going to work for the garden. Maybe as like an usher. Like they didn't know exactly what I did. They just knew that I worked for the teams. But there was one time I was working at Chuck E. Cheese. And I was behind the cash register. And this would happen almost at least once a day for every day that month. People would come up to me. Chuck E. Cheese is a little ratchet, right? People would come up to me and would be like, "Why are you working here?" And I'd be like, "Excuse you? Why are you working here? You're so pretty. You should be like on TV or like working a bank or something." And I'm like, "Are you hiring for that network or the bank?" "No, but you should go apply." So what are we doing here? Like people would come up to me. There was one time I had to wear the Chucky suit. That was it for me.
Wait, you mean like
That was
the whole
it for
mascot?
me.
Oh my god.
Yes, they really tried it. I was like, that was it for me. But you know what? I appreciated that moment because, Johnny, whoever plays Johnny on game days, I'm really understanding of that for that one moment, in the sense where I'd be like, hey, I don't need you in this feature. You can go upstairs, drink water, do what you got to do. You know what I mean? So it's like all those little jobs that I did made me appreciate where I am now because I understand it. And there's times where I do brand ambassadoring jobs and I become team lead. And I'm very like, I try to be relatable and very realistic. So like if I have a staff, like I'll be like, okay, let's switch you off, because when I worked events like this, me staying in one spot was impossible. And I wanted my staff to be able to network, because me networking off that one party helped me get into the garden. You know what I mean? So I would be like, hey, listen, I'm gonna rotate you guys. I'm gonna put you here in this station. If you gotta talk to people, do so professionally, and try to use this party as an experience. And it's just like little things like that happen. But yes, I really worked for Chuck E. Cheese at one point. It was crazy. I had no shame in my game. If the money called, I
I
answered.
mean, hey, I remember like when the pandemic was happening, like what I was doing, like I had to come back home, like I ended up moving boxes at UPS before I got
You
that was
see?
actually my first, I can say, first real job that I had, because I did like like little work. I was actually a door dasher on right, yeah, because I was a door dasher on my bike for like for like a summer, and pandemic happened and the demand for food to get delivered was kind of going down a little, or I wasn't making as much as I thought I could make. That's when the UPS job kind of, I kind of had to fall into that because make more money. And again, like there's actually a picture that I saw and that inspires me, and I saved it. Like when you go on IG and you see like a meme you want to save to go back and reference to. There was a picture of Barack Obama when he was still president. It was like him walking through the White House, and there was like this man like cleaning up trash around the White House or doing like janitorial work, and Barack Obama goes up to him and he gives him a fist bump, and just seeing that picture and just knowing like this is like it's the president of the United States fist bumping like a janitor. I mean, it's just like that level of respect. Don't matter like how high or how low you may be on the totem pole at your workplace, still show everybody the same respect that you would want from them. Okay, Denise, and but one thing that I wanted to ask you before we close out here is that with all the experience you've had working in the sports industry and everything that you've been able to accomplish up to date, what is something that if you had the power to, like I'm giving you all the power here, like if there's something that you wish could be changed like immediately in the sports industry for the current state that's in, what would it be?
Um, I think it will come back to what I said before. Is just organizations giving more opportunity to those that don't know much, but how do I put it? Like going back to what I said about like having friends in the business that know what you're capable of and support you from day one, but won't give you the job because you don't have the blue check or
Hmm.
the followers. You know what I mean? So it would be giving more chances to people. Like we all started at the bottom, you know? And I feel like it's important that you see, like now that I have the small platform that I have, how can I help the person who's in the shoes that I once were? You know what I mean? Who didn't have the experience, who didn't have the foot, their foot in the door or anything, who didn't know where, like, I want to work in sports, but where do I start? So it would just be giving more people more chances and really like helping them because like I said, like the sports world is big, but it's really a small community and it's who you know. But then I feel like we all need to remind each other that we were
Hmm.
once in their shoes. So it's like me having all the power would be me helping those who are now where I used to be.
Hmm.
We need to see more women in sports, especially more Latinas. I think I'm the only one that I think I'm the only Dominican one. Like, my friend Ari, she does it. There's like a bunch of women that I know, but they don't know Spanish. And my Spanish is okay. Right, ma? Is all right. My mom's sarcastic laugh. But I think I can hold a conversation in Spanish. Um, but it's just like, yeah, really like helping those. And I feel like some people say that they're humble, but they're
Hmm.
not really humble. Like once they make it, they forget that they had to go through those obstacles too. So why not put the other person on? And we all have something different
Right.
that we bring to the table. And I tell this to my friends also, like, you're black, you have beautiful hair, your personality is different than me. I have another homegirl who, she's white, she's German, beautiful blue eyes, blonde hair. And I'm the only Spanish one who can either go straight or curly or talk
Hmm.
Spanish and English. You know what I mean? We all bring something different to the table. We can still help each other. I'm not worried about anybody taking my spot, because like you could take that spot, they can hire you, but I can go somewhere else and bring something else to that
Hmm.
organization. You know what I mean? So like me having all the power is just like helping others get to where I am now. We need to like we need to help each other
Hmm.
more.
So you're saying like help each other more, help somebody, put somebody on, and that's one way to get
Yeah,
fix the state of the sport industry in your eyes. Yeah. I mean,
yeah. Because I didn't have that before. You know what I mean? I didn't know where to go. I was lost, and I had
oh
to
yeah,
learn it.
definitely, definitely.
But
Yeah, and then I feel like yeah, that's definitely needed. Just the networking skills are important, but really just also, you know, well, I know it does go back to just trying to make sure you have the skill set and the right mindset to go into it, but just even giving somebody a chance. I mean, yeah, I feel like that's very important
Yeah.
for sure. Because like
More
resume
opportunity for
could
people.
like only say a few words, but like that interview or just even a conversation with that person, I mean, you could learn a lot more.
Yeah, I think I had there was one moment in my life in the beginning where I think I only had the garden. The garden is only seasonal. And I was going to a job interview in the city for a gym. I forgot what gym it was. It wasn't Rumble. I don't know. She was like a celebrity trainer or something like that. And I had stopped by an office over a big, big corporation. And I'm not gonna mention the name because everybody's gonna know who that person is. And that person is in charge of that that company's sports, like, and it's big. It's like one of the apps that we
Mm.
use basically. And that person, he or she is in charge of that department, of the sports department. And I spoke to him. I gave him my background, and
What's
you know what
that?
he told me? Oh, well, go back to school and then we'll talk about it.
Mm.
Even though I done all the work and everything, and he or she was just like, go back to school and then we'll
Mm.
talk about it. Get the job to someone else. And it was just like little things like that that helped me get to the mentality that I have now. That's fine. I don't take it personal. We're still cool, you know? But yesterday's price is not today's. Just saying.
Definitely, for sure, for sure. Well, Denise, it's definitely been awesome having you on, and you've been a great interviewee, and also just the insight that you're able to give the OFPs and just helping them aspire to be where you want to be in your shoes someday, and just being able to come on this platform to be able to promote that. It's definitely been grateful having you, and hope to wish you all well in the future, and yeah, like the long-term vision, just make sure to keep it and make sure to still inspire the people and help those that are coming behind you.
Thank you for having me. I have fun. And my mom is over there singing gospel music.
It's all
So
good, all good. Only a little bit salt in our lives.
I can't be my family, we're all like clowns. My family, we're very honest, everybody. So that's pretty funny. But thank you so much for having me, Philip. And hopefully I see you this week. We have the
Yeah.
big garden game. So we're excited. And the women's game, I believe tomorrow, Tuesday, yeah, 7 p.m.
Well, if
So
not tired, I'll try to pull
we'll
up.
see you there.
Yeah. Uh,
But yeah, if anything, I'll see you on Friday for the, MSG game versus
yeah.
Villanova.
Well, Lisa, thank you again coming on, and also thank you for all that's listened to all the way to the end. Again, it's been Denise Gonzalez doing another informational interview here on the Off Field Players Podcast. And just want to wish everybody a safe week. Stay healthy, stay safe, and as always, make sure to
Yes,
achieve what you believe.
that is true. Bye, guys.